Good morning. It is. What is it? It's November. November. It's well, it's 11. I saw 111. 11 is November, right? Oh, such a Doug. January 11th. I have audio confirmation, and I have unmuted the bot. It's speaker well, bot. It's 11. And I get another mute over here. I was just a little distracted. I sent an email to Larry Davis this morning. I don't know if you're watching right now, Larry. Not understanding your response, though. Yes, I saw that show you did, and that problem with the Windows Update didn't have anything to do with you recover drive. Yesterday was Windows Update. The day before that was when I responded. Oh, did I not put the link in? No, that's what happened. Is I didn't give you the link for the show. This is the link, Larry. Let's see. So, yeah, I goofed that up really good. So that's why he saw the show yesterday, and I didn't have anything to do with what his question was. So anyway, hopefully that's got fixed up. So then here, I'm going to go into channel comments. No, it wasn't Wonder Mute, Chris. Go into channel comments here. There's a couple of comments. One from I am Kenster. See, I got it. No, I didn't say LM Kenster. I am Kenster. And since that's the bottom most comment there, I can't scroll it down any further. So he says, Kenny now is getting blamed credit for others now, LOL. Kenny now is getting blamed credit for others. So the things that I see wrong with that, the word now is used twice, right? And this is implying that he thinks it's a new thing that he's getting blamed. No, that's not new. You've always been blamed for things going wrong. The other thing that's wrong with this is credit. He thinks he's getting credit for things going right? No. All right. So there's my jab back at you, Kenny. Jeff Ryman says, Doug, here's a link to the best explanation I've seen of Windows Update that is failing. The Windows Update that is failing. I've got, we're going to spend a little bit of time on that and actually go look at the recovery partition. And I mean, we're going to look at the recovery partition. Ran972 says, sorry I missed the live stream today.
Ken Stout Live said yesterday, someone else texted something and thought it was me ... It was not.
I got to understand that. Yesterday, someone else texted something and thought it was me. It was not. Oh, well, I was thinking what you were referring to about the blame credit. I was thinking that had to do with the, what was it? Broken. I figured that's what you're referring to. I don't know what you were referring to in that show, but I think that's a show where the nickname for you of Broken came up. Yesterday, someone else texted something. So texted something in chat or text to your phone. Your phone gets text messages. Chat is chat messages. Never the twain shall meet. Thought it was me. It was not. Oh, okay, I'm getting it. Somebody probably put something in the chat room, not a text message, but a chat message. And maybe I thought that it was Ken saying it. I bet that's what it was. Move along, Doug. Squirrel. Sorry I missed the live stream today. I stumbled upon this link
Ken
myself
Stout.
when troubleshooting.
Live said in your chat, someone made a comment, you covered it, then blamed me such a Doug.
Oh, well, of course. Then that goes back to this part about Kenny gets blamed for everything. Yeah.
Chris Garrett said broken is a good word for Joshy.
I ran out of milk yesterday and I blamed Ken. I get through the rest of this. I stumbled upon this link myself when troubleshooting the update failure. Can confirm that resizing the recovery partition to 1.1 gigabytes, give or take a few megabytes, did solve the problem. For me, at least. All right. Thank you for that, Ran. I'm pretty sure that's Ran Israel. So let's see. Let's get to that. Here's this bleeping computer article. There was some interesting points in here. They get into the details about who would care about this. A security update was released for this vulnerability, and it is a BitLocker encryption bypass that allows users, I ought to say hackers there, to access encrypted data. Users are allowed to access encrypted data, right? But this vulnerability is a vulnerability that would allow a hacker or a criminal mind to access encrypted data on a drive. And that's what this update was to patch or protect. Most of the people in this community, as far as I know, are not using BitLocker. I think we might have 1 or 2 people in the community that do have BitLocker active or encryption action active. However, when attempting to install this update, Windows 10 users, and we saw Windows 11 also, are reporting getting this error message and the installation fails. And then we come down here further, they're showing us that particular download error message. Yeah, download error because there's not enough space on the recovery partition for it. Well, the thing that I found interesting that wasn't apparent in our prior conversation, error occurred, was that this was actually replacing content on the recovery partition in order to patch that vulnerability. There were some problems installing updates. We'll try again later. If you keep seeing this, yada, yada, yada. Moving on. Where is this piece? Microsoft warns that when installing that update, you might see Windows you are supposed to see Windows Recovery Environment Servicing failed when the recovery partition is not large enough to support the update. That update is code that is files that is going into that recovery partition in order to patch the vulnerability. However, a coding error causes the Windows update to mistakenly display the generic such and such number, error install failure, error message instead. So this was an error in coding that they're getting the wrong error message about the failure. Okay, so that's Ken's fault too, of course, because we blame everything on Ken. WinRE recovery environment partition too small. When installing this update, Microsoft is installing a new version of the Windows Recovery Environment. So it's a new version of that environment that fixes the BitLocker vulnerability. So the only people that really care about this update not installing is people who are using BitLocker, and if their computer might fall into the hands of a hacker. If your computer is enough of a target that somebody would steal it and try to get to the encrypted data that's on the computer. Or, perhaps you replace a hard drive and you just discard that drive and it falls into the hands of somebody who's going to try to access that encrypted data. Unfortunately, Windows 10 creates a recovery partition, usually around 500 megabytes, which is not large enough to support the new Windows recovery environment image file, causing the error when attempting to install the update. In a test by a bleeping computer this morning, when was that? That was probably yesterday, right? Is there a date on that? Yeah, January 10th was yesterday. In a test, brand new installation of Windows 10 using the latest ISO from Microsoft created a 522 megabyte recovery partition. However, even this new install has a partition that is too small, causing the same error to occur when installing that update. The only solution Microsoft has offered at this point is to create a larger Windows recovery partition so there's enough room for the security update to install. Now, they give down here instructions for increasing the size of it. I don't like doing that method at all. It seems to me that you could just go into disk management and much easier to increase the size of that. But what I got more interested in doing is what is in that recovery partition. So we're going to go look at that. You cannot actually map a drive letter to that recovery partition, but what we can do is we can mount and explore that recovery partition through a backup file. Now, I need to go show you pictures that I took yesterday to show the state of the recovery
Ran Israel
partition.
said you have to use disk part because disk management won't touch a protected partition.
Disk management won't touch a partition. Okay. All right. I'll accept that. I did not test it. Thank you, Ran. And let's see. I'm going into my pictures. I forgot to set this up in advance. It's trying to go into my brother's iCloud because I hack his iCloud all the time. No, not really. I have access to his iCloud, so we can share photos on our weekly brotherly Zoom call. So let's see, where am I gonna start?
Ran Israel said you can use disk part to assign a drive letter to the recovery partition.
Well, I found documentation from Microsoft that says you can't assign a drive letter to it. So I did not try doing that myself. I just found documentation from Microsoft that said you can't. I don't totally trust that, of course. And you know that. Let me find this. Where? No, not there. That was about the views. Try here. Not that. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here's, let's see if now I have to download these photos to zoom into them. Here I'm showing, boy, do I really want to go through this. I'm going to show you this a different way. So here I'm assigning a drive letter to recovery partition yesterday. And what I wanted to see is if I go actually do something in the recovery partition, will it update any files there? So here I am looking at this point, the recovery partition is not accessible when I first assigned a drive letter to it because you have to go back and use this check mark, enable access to restricted folders. And I'm going to do this in a couple minutes here. So here we're assigning a drive letter H to the recovery partition, and I go browsing around and see what is in the recovery partition. And there's a date on this reload.xml of December 3rd. Well, yesterday I went in to do some things in the actual recovery area, and I'll show you pictures of that in a minute. I want to see if these files actually get updated. Here I'm showing the contents of the file. That's really blurred, but we'll go see it in real time in a little bit. Zoom in here. This is the content of one of those files. I'm just hammering through these. Mainly wanted to show that the most recent date that I have in any of these files
ZV Manor
is
said you can
3rd.
with disk part and also with third app like Easiest partition.
You can with disk part and also with third app. Okay, yes, that's not the direction that I'm going right now, so I'm going to move past that. So here, when I restart this computer, since this has two bootable Windows partitions on my primary drive, I have Windows 11 on volume 7. That's the one that I'm running from right now. Windows 11 on volume 9 is a slim, very light partition that I was using when I was troubleshooting the XSplit troubles. And then here I go into, let's see, I selected this down here, change defaults or choose other options, and then choose other options, and then troubleshoot, and then advanced options, and then startup repair. So now the computer's restarting in repair mode. Now you can force the power off on your computer 3 times in a row and it will automatically go into repair mode, but here it is diagnosing. And I get into startup repair. Startup repair couldn't repair your PC, so now I just restart the computer. I didn't do anything more with it. That's a photo related to a client. I better take this off screen because I'm not sure. Yeah, I had some other client photos in there before. Oh, that's actually the end of what I want to show on photos. So now what I want to do is go to Macro and Reflect, and after having done that yesterday, last night my computer did a backup. I want to go see in that recovery partition, are those file dates were they changed? Are they more current? There's not a lot in that recovery partition. So here on these backups, here's the last full C drive backup was on January 3rd. And then there was an incremental on January 4th in the morning. And then there was a another incremental in the evening, January 4th. Then there's a differential on January 9th, so that was 2 days ago. And then there's an incremental last night. So this incremental, I'm going to mount that and then assign a drive letter to that recovery partition and just see if those files were updated. I'm suspecting that they were. Without actually going in to do recovery work myself, I'm suspecting those get, let's see, December 3rd. It's entirely possible that I did do recovery around then, because that sounds like the time that I was having all those lockup troubles. So here I'm selecting that incremental backup, then come up here to browse. And if Larry happens to catch this video, when I said mounting backups after you move them to what you're referring to as an archive drive, when I said mounting, what I mean is browsing here. Because when you browse, you get to assign a drive letter, and that is basically mounting. So here is that recovery partition at 801 megabytes in size. And I'm going to enable access to restricted folders, click OK, and it's assigning a drive letter. It's going to pick the drive letter. I don't get to pick it. Assigns a drive letter D. So now that is accessible to me through File Explorer, and that remains accessible to me even if I exit Macro and Reflect. I lose access to that mounted drive when I reboot the computer.
John Williams said, is the recovery partition on Win 10 and Win 11 the same? Because I get all updates on my Windows 11 computer.
Is the recovery partition on Windows 10 and 11 the same? Because I get all updates on my Windows 11 computer. Yes, because the whole idea behind the recovery partition is when your computer is failing to boot, it's going to go in and do troubleshooting and try to fix it. And it uses that recovery partition to try to fix things. Now, let's see. Yeah, here, see Macro Reflect image on D. We're looking at D here. And if I scroll down, let's look at D here. This is more comfortable to see it this way. So if I look at properties here, it's showing 800 megabytes for this recovery partition. We're just looking at the recovery partition. We're browsing. We said we wanted to browse that incremental backup, but we only mounted the recovery partition. So that's all we're looking at here. So yes, we have a January 10th date. So when I got into the troubleshooting, those pictures that I showed you, it did update that file. Then if we go into the recovery folder, logs, these are all showing January 10th. Those photos I showed you were showing December 3rd, because that apparently was the last time that I had performed a recovery. Now if we go into the Windows recovery environment folder, we also see a January 10th date. Now here's the actual image. Win recovery environment, Windows, what was that? Windows, I know some of you know what that WIM stands for off the top of your head. Windows image, is that it? I don't know, somebody's going to tell us in chat what that stands for. So that's 715 megabytes. So most of the content of that recovery partition is this file itself. And did that article actually tell
Ran
us
Israel said yes.
That's the file it's updating? Rand said yes. That it's what? Windows image is what it stands for? Yeah, Chris says Windows image as well. Now, if I go, what did I want to go to? Back to that article. Let's see, here's that article. And see, did they actually have that file name? Yeah, WinREWIM. What I did to solve this issue was manually copy the WinREWIM from the system partition recovery to the new recovery partition. This was somebody manually fixing the problem, it looks like. There's 2 instances of that. And here in the article, unfortunately, Windows 10 creates a recovery partition, usually around 500 megabytes, which is not large enough to support the new Windows RE image. This is what they're trying to do, is put in a new copy of that file. There, that's better, Londog, I think. Windows Image Service Module, without the word service, Windows Image Module. The word service isn't part of WIM, but anyway, it's somewhere around involved in that. But I just got curious. I was chasing a squirrel. Yeah, I know. It's a squirrel. But I thought it was intriguing to actually go look at the content of that. Now, let's see. I'm going to go take one more squirrel here and go disk management and just show that if it's true to what somebody said earlier in chat, that I cannot alter the size of that partition. Now, I don't have that partition mounted right now as a drive letter. That mounted RE partition is from the backup. So here is that partition. Now, no, it's not. That's the 500 megabytes. This is the 800 megabytes. This is the WinRE partition for my C drive. The E drive is that second bootable partition that has the, no, that, is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. The E drive. Let's go, I'll go over here and check on that. If I go to the E drive, yeah, local disk. See, it has all, this is the full basic Windows installation. It's a Windows 11. It just doesn't have all the programs installed that I use. It's just curious to me that I made that so large. Okay, but anyway, if I want to make this partition bigger using disk management, if I was able to do that, then I would shrink the volume, the C drive volume. We're predicting, according to somebody earlier in chat, that it's not going to allow me to make this recovery partition bigger. Enter the amount of space to shrink in megabytes. So I'm going to say I want to shrink by 100 megabytes. So shrinking this partition by 100 megabytes. Size of available shrink in megabytes. I can only shrink 837 megabytes apparently because there's data throughout this drive that doesn't let me shrink it more than that. Total size before shrink in megabytes, so that's 1 terabyte showing out. That checks. So we're looking at the right partition there. So shrink this, that should shrink the right side of this C drive while I'm streaming, while I'm live streaming from this partition, right? So there's 100 megabytes unallocated. Now, you know what? Yeah. Oh, see, yeah, right click here. There is no shrink. There is no shrink or increase the size. Here on this, I can shrink or extend. Yeah, that's it. It doesn't even give you that menu option. Righto. Now I'm thinking along the lines, what if I were to make that a one gigabyte and copy all the content over there? I don't think there's any way that you could make a different partition, the recovery partition.
Greg M said you can only increase size if there is free space after the partition.
Yeah, after the partition. Yeah, I was thinking of that as I was going along this way. Now, wait a minute, that's on the left side of the partition. No, it'd have to have space on the right side of the partition to be able to increase that way. Yep. So I'll come back here and extend this volume, the C drive. Wait a minute. What? I don't want to shrink. I want to extend to get it back into that space. Okay. So there's 99 megabytes, 100 megabytes. So looks like that's what I can increase. So it's automatically sensing that that's what I can do. And then there. That gets me the space back. Okay, now we're going to go.
Ran Israel said, if you're willing to dabble with DISM, you can do anything you want with this recovery partition.
If you're willing to dabble
Chris Garrett said, hello, ghetto.
Okay, DISM.
Greg M said, I have only an EFI partition and a recovery 530 MB partition, and this is a clean Win 10 install.
Let's see, Greg M. I have only an EFI partition and a recovery 530 partition. And this is a clean, meaning you don't have a C drive at all? You don't have a boot partition? I bet I'm missing some of Greg M's conversation. So I'm gonna go just focus on Greg M. Whoops, not Greg M. Greg M. Spelling in English, please. I'm seeing this window update error. Oh, Greg is getting that update error. Lawn dog to Greg. Wow, technicians are not supposed to have these kind of issues. Yeah, it's not legal for them to happen to us. Now you get me worried, Greg, and that I'm going to see some goofy error like this. I need to make this screen bigger. Get caught up. Greg says, looks like 4 or 5 of my client machines are having this issue. I haven't had any calls from clients, but I don't think I would, because I think the computer will restart and they're in operation and they don't notice the error message if they ever see it. Although most of my client computers out there probably got that red dot that's saying you need to restart your computer, and they just let that sit for days and days and days on end. But we don't have encryption on any of those, so I'm really not worried about it. I'm not going to go checking up on those computers because, again, we don't have encryption. I'm not worried about that vulnerability. It's busy work for me to go do that proactively. You can only increase size if there's free space after the partition. Got that. I have only a EFI partition and a recovery 530 megabyte partition, and this is a clean Windows. I'm not sure what you're saying is wrong with that. Remember, this is Windows 10 issue. No, it's both. It's affecting both. It's a different KB. No, it's a different update number. But we saw yesterday it is affecting both Windows 10 and Windows 11. Windows 11, it's only affecting those with 22H2. Or no, I think it was 21H2. Was it 20? I think it was 21H2. I showed that. We looked at that yesterday.
Greg M. said I do not have 3 system partitions on my NVMe drive. I only have 2.
Oh, okay. Well, I have more than you because I have an extra bootable partition. If I were to boot to my other, do I still have, no, I don't have disk management still open. If I were to boot to my other operating system, the one that I have on partition 9, if I were to boot to it and do a Windows update, then it would be utilizing that recovery partition, apparently. Not all recovery partitions are created the same. I have the same size for the recovery partition. Remember, this is a Windows 10 issue, not Windows 11. Not true. It affects both. Okay. Now, that was all focused on Greg M. Let's go back. Alice, hello to you. Dennis got off a random playlist of YouTube and play that in lieu of the trailer on here because I didn't have a trailer today. So he was going to go look for something else. Scratch that. He's going to go start watching this week's USAF Basic Military Training Graduation Festivities instead. Ken Stout says, no trailer? What? Yeah, I get bored. I got the same old trailers to pick from. And yesterday when I went to pick from them, just nothing caught my fancy. So no trailer. Yes, we have no trailer. We have no trailers today. John Williams, good morning, everyone. Selden Ball with a weather report. Daniel Emberley watching new ARKB Bitcoin ETF down 6.35 cents at the open. No Bitcoin exposure myself. I do have Bitcoin exposure. Oh, it's worth less than half what I originally paid for it. Ugh. Richard Rogers. Chris Garrett says, let's get started. Before the show started, he was eager, wasn't he? Daniel Emberley, anyone following CES and see anything that floats your boat? Nope, I haven't followed that. CES, what that used to be? I don't remember what the acronym stands for. That's the computer show. Is it still in Las Vegas? Chris says, where are you? That was before the show started. No leading ad this
John
time.
Williams said Lady Gaga is a good trailer.
Oh, you want me to do a Lady Gaga tomorrow? Let's see, where is that? Why did that not show up on this panel? That's from John Williams. All right, maybe we'll do a Lady Gaga tomorrow. Although I saw a music video that I might make a trailer about. So there might be a brand new trailer tomorrow. Ken Stout says good morning to Richard. Larry is here. Hello, Larry. I sent another email reply back to you. Did I get you to the right video that time? Chris Garrett, you get another mute. Is it winter mute? Hello, chat. Winter mute. What's happening? He's learning. Richard Rogers. More storms moving in tomorrow for Chris. Winter mute. Nick Poverman. I finally made it to another live. Work has been crazy again. More flooding in a different location. Let's see. We got that on the bod. I have 12 p.m. news. Pause. We'll watch after the stream. My wife asked me if I saw the dog bowl. I said, I didn't know he could bowl. How's his score? Let's see. Saw that. Heard that. Broken is a good word for Jossie. Lawn Dog, sorry I'm a little late. A trailer I've been waiting a year for just happened. Super hot. A program that's been a year in the making. So that sounds like a trailer for like a TV show or something, or a Hulu show. That's it. I'd be scared of BitLocker. I've seen too many goofy things with it, even with the limited experience I've been exposed to. I do have encryption on one client's office where we are required to have security policies and yada, yada, all that stuff. We do have BitLocker enabled on all of those computers. If you want to do a video on how to use it, Locker, we can analyze some of the issues that probably has cropped up over the years. I don't feel very attracted to doing that because I don't have a lot of experience with BitLocker. I'm mildly curious about it, but I think down the road it might become a very common thing to implement it. But at this point, I don't have enough demand among my clients for me to initiate a pursuit down that road. There are some problems installing updates. We'll try again later. If you keep seeing this and want to search the web for contact support, yada, yada, not using BitLocker from Zvi. Windows update show hide diag cab to hide the update. Okay, that's a way to do it. Just hide the update. That's the error. I'm seeing this window update error from Greg M. I have partition mini tool from Chris Garrett. You have to use disk part because disk management won't touch a protected partition. Got that now. You can explore it with mini tool, and I can explore it with Mac and Reflect. Technicians are not supposed to have these kinds of issues. Skipping on scanning a little bit. You can, I did, whatever we were talking about at that time. Like 4 or 5 of my client machines.
Chris Garrett said Consumer Electronics Show.
Yes, CES, Consumer Electronics Show. Thank you. Back in the days when I was before the internet existed, before hypertext was a thing, before World Wide Web, and I was involved in our local computer users group. People would go to Las Vegas for that show. I never did. I wouldn't get excited if this was widespread. There will be a fix from Microsoft. Yeah, if you wait, Microsoft will come up with a fix for it. We're having this problem on all of our computers, waiting for Microsoft to fix it. That's what I would do, Nick. Be patient. Yeah, I'm sure they will. Already did that one. You have to love Microsoft releasing an update that doesn't work. Yeah. Now, interesting, even computers that don't use encryption or have BitLocker enabled, they have to have that same update anyway, because Microsoft, of course, wants all computers to have the same version of recovery. But how did they overlook that, knowing that the partition size is 500 megabytes or 522 megabytes? And that's not enough. How did they miss that? Somebody's head should roll. I bet somebody's in trouble at Microsoft over that. Chris says there is a EFI boot, 64 EFI Microsoft Recovery, then boot all the languages under English mem test. There is... I'm forgetting what that one stands for, EFI. All right, I'm gonna move along. You're looking at FAT EFI system partition. We're talking about NTFS partition. Okay. Long dog to Nick. This shows all the extensive testing that Microsoft does before releasing an update. I think that is a sarcastic remark. Long dog to Nick. This shows all that extensive testing that Microsoft does before releasing an update. Yeah. Thanks. I thought so. I believe Microsoft updates are delayed 1 week just for this kind of reason. Oh, maybe computers that haven't received the update yet, maybe it's been put on pause. That could be. Suppose I'm going to hear from the rest of the gang. They have a 1 week delay also. Here's something else from Nick. What is this one about? Isn't that the one I just showed? 503441. 503441. Bleeping computer. Bleeping computer. Yeah, it's the same one. Why are you giving me that again? Is that maybe before I showed it? Maybe that's before I showed it. Let's see. Is recovery partition 1 to 10? Yeah, I think they are the same. Nick to Carrie Holzman said yesterday to wait for Microsoft to fix it. Yep, I'd go along with that. I do not even see that recovery for some reason. This computer was upgraded from Windows 7. It has UEFI and Secure Boot, but Secure Boot is off. Are you saying you don't see that recovery partition? Let's go back to disk management. Let me point out something. I have seen that whether you're looking in disk part or in disk management, these special partitions are sometimes difficult to spot. Like well, there I see recovery partition, but based upon the size or how you have things scrolled. Let's see up here. What do we got? Yeah, I don't see the word recovery partition up here. Oh, and something else I noticed was weird. When I went and looked at this, well, I can't just I can't tell you this without showing you this, because you're probably not going to be able to see this on your computers. I think this is looking different to me because I've got the extra boot partition maybe. So if I do list disks and select disk 1, disk 1 is the one that has my bootable drive. It does not boot from disk 0. SELE disk 1 and then list vol. Here's something that I thought was really pretty surprising here. Let's see, disk 1 partition 7 up here is 508. Here's volume 7 is 801, not 508. The partition, disk 1 partition 7 in disk management shows as 508 megabytes. Partition 7 in disk part shows 801 megabytes. The 508 partition is actually volume 8. So it was just surprising to me that these volume numbers does not match these partition numbers. Of course, it's a different word, but I had presumed that those would match, but apparently they don't.
Ran Israel said list volume shows all drives across all disks. You want list partition.
Let's see. Okay, list part. All right, does that make it match? Partition 750. Yes, it does. Okay, thank you for explaining that.
Chris Garrett said bleeping computer, more like.
Okay. Yeah, that makes them match. Okay, thank you. I'm glad I asked. Yeah, and that last one, bleeping computer, more like. No, not a full sentence. Don't know what you meant, Chris. Maybe because I'm seeing that conflict or that mismatch saying bleeping computer. Maybe that's what he meant. Rick Lakes, hello.
Chris Garrett said, bleeping computer, more like bleeping Microsoft.
Okay, there you go, Chris. Maybe trying to repair something out of our bailiwick. Yeah, it says, yes, then indeed, fun to tinker with this stuff for people like me and Lawn Dog, and I think Chris, and many of you. Some of you just say squirrel, move on. Secondly, catch me about bad time. Hope you feel better soon. Scanning, because I'm over time. Windows Weekly to report on that error. Yeah, they'll probably talk about it. So he says, I have 2 partitions of recovery. Microsoft fault. Okay, 2 partitions of recovery. Let's see, we've got AOI, looking healthy page file, primary partition, 97 gigabytes, primary partition, 636 gigabytes. Here's the healthy recovery. There's the 2 recovery partitions. Yeah, interesting. That's different.
Zweimanner said, disk 0.
ID, yeah, I got you. He put that in probably while I was looking at the wrong one. Yeah, 2 recovery partitions that both show as healthy. And then up here, the 536 and the 475, partition 3 and 4. I would question could it have been a what? Maybe reinstalling Windows on top of not an existing installation, but maybe manually deleting the old installation in such a way that there's a separate. Now, if you were to do like an image backup of that entire drive and then go explore those partitions or use any of the other methods for mapping a drive letter and exploring them, and then
Zweimanner said 536 MB is old one.
536 is the old one. Okay. So if you were to go into system recovery mode, then you would see updated file dates on this one. Now that would also imply that you could manually delete this partition. I wouldn't do that without having a full image backup of the entire drive, all of the partitions, in case that somehow blows up in your face. Interesting. Thank you for presenting that, showing that. Is there any shows that I should be redirecting to? Today's Thursday. Greg M, the same size for recovery partition. This here is going to be something weird, and I really don't think we as regular human beings should try to repair it. We're not regular human beings. What, you're calling us normal? Oh my gosh. Say it isn't so. I got a lot of Rand is telling Zavi well, no, wait, is it? No, where was it? Someone said don't delete. Rand telling Zavi, don't delete. It'll screw up your partition numbers. Does that matter?
Zweimanner said, after the show, I will try.
He's gonna try after the show. Have a full image backup first, and let's put some respect to this caution. It'll screw up your partition numbers. If you need the space, shrink it down to bear. He doesn't need the space. It's just a tiny partition. It's just a technical curiosity. See if you can delete it. And see if the partition numbers matter anywhere. Do they matter anywhere? All right, I will read over these messages. I'm not going to read them all in. Zavi says he's going to try. I'm looking forward to hearing how that goes, Zavi. All right, here we go. There's the email address if you want to send a question for me and or the chat room to respond to. That's the address to send it to. Other than that, have an outstanding Thursday. People have been pronouncing that wrong all this time. The T's have a t sound. So it's not what everybody's been saying. It's Thursday. That's the right way to say it, and I'm sticking to it.